Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Due to the governor's statewide disaster declaration relating to the COVID-19 pandemic and current public health guidelines for social distancing, I've determined that it's not prudent for members of the village board to convene in person for tonight's meeting. Therefore, the members of the village board are mostly attending via video conferencing. To comply with the Open Meetings Act, the meeting is being recorded tonight, and I would ask Village Clerk Schmidtke to take roll call and make sure that everyone can be heard.
Trustee Borowski.
Hello, good evening. Yes, good evening.
Trustee Chris Mayer, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, happy Tuesday.
Trustee O'Connor is not. Trustee O'Reilly, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Tucci, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you.
And then you can hear me, right? Okay, good. Loud and clear, and I am present, so thanks for asking. If we could rise for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America,
And to the
to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everyone. Let's see, you said Jeff was going to be here, or? Online. Oh, online. Jeff Wilson, are you here? Because our next item on the agenda is the homeowners associations. Sorry, somebody else is joining really quick, but let's just go. We'll come back to Jeff. From Bridgewater Farms, is Dave Schumer here? Is Joel Polikoff from Bridlewood here? I don't see Rich Tourette from our subdivision, Indian Creek Club. Jeff Wilson, did you join by any chance? It's probably Rita, right? To PM or Audie? Is that what it is? And Rita's coming in. Okay, so nobody is here. I'm going to move to the next item. Public comment. Anyone have public comment online or in person? And we received nothing in writing?
No, we've received communication in regards to the traffic calming.
Okay.
And that's been posted in on the board packet.
Okay. All right. Great. Hi there. Okay, we're going to keep moving along. We have the public safety reports, but we have no one here for the public safety. Sir, may I ask you, you're not one of the HOA presidents, are you?
Yes.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Dave Schumer from Bridgewater Farms.
Do you have anything that you want to share with the board?
No, nothing at this moment.
Okay. Thanks for being here and thanks for your service. Appreciate it. But yeah, if there's anything you want to bring up, this is the time. Tonight's meeting is a little bit different because we have some folks that we're not feeling well, so we're primarily remote today.
Okay.
just how it worked out. So
Okay.
for everyone's safety.
Okay.
Thank you for being here. All right, so then we have the consent agenda. There's the bills list, the treasurer's report, the board meeting minutes without substantive changes, and then the extension of the 90-day water operations agreement. Any questions or comment, or does somebody want to make a motion
To approve.
One quick comment, the treasurer's report, we're going to need to be changing it given the restructuring and reset of the TIF bonds. So that's the chatter that Greg and I were having before, that we will get that going so that by next month, hopefully you'll see a new format.
Thanks
But
for bringing that up.
But we could still vote on it tonight.
Yes, according to our village attorney, we can.
Okay.
And
Okay,
just a
so
quick-
it was moved by Trustee O'Reilly. Go ahead.
just a question on number 9. So what's our targeted plan for having something else in place? Is that an item that's on the agenda later today, or I saw it in the packet or something? I saw something in the packet. Just kind of trying to figure out where we're at.
Yeah, the RFP is being posted. This extension, we are hopeful, will be the last extension without having a permanent, if Gay Walt wins the contract, then obviously they'd come back with another contract, or if another company does.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
We have a live motion, but not a second.
Second.
Second,
Okay, seconded by trustee Tanucci. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
trustee Sanucci,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye,
trustee Chris Meyer.
aye.
Okay, motion carried, thank you. Moving right along, we don't have the village planner here tonight, but we do have a report. Greg, we were just talking about this. There was a meeting, the architectural meeting happened last night. That's the only meeting that happened, right?
Correct.
And there were 2 signs approved, right?
Yeah, the sign for 327 Old McHenry Road, Hidden Gem, was approved, and with a couple tweaks in there. And then 243 Robert Parker Coffin Road, the Vintage Charm Homestead sign was also approved with no discussion. It was fine the way it was, so.
Any concerns, questions? I think it's great to see 2 new businesses in the downtown. One of them's right next to you, Bobby, which is great. So, okay, well, keep us moving then. Everyone's quiet. Village engineers report, we do not have our engineer tonight because of a family situation. Are there any questions on the engineers report that maybe Jeff can answer or somebody can answer?
Yeah, I've got, I just want to hit a couple items on the engineer's report. The Checker Road traffic calming, tomorrow's the last day for the speed tables. The Village Hall expansion, we had the kickoff meeting and a subsequent visit by the architect to do measurements of the facility here as they move forward with a design and recommendations for the new Village Hall. Jeff had sent out a letter to myself, Melissa, regarding the retaining wall options on Route 22 with the widening project that I will be sending to the board. But basically, there was, I understand, prior to my arrival, back in May of 21, a desire for concrete enhancement with an anti-graffiti treatment and a different type of staining. The prices associated with that are pretty high. The cost to the village with form liner walls with staining is $138,000 more that we would be responsible for as a village. With the staining and the anti-graffiti, it's $213,000. The other thing that comes into play here, as Jeff points out, is if we make those enhancements, we are likely to be responsible for any damage that occurs, any repainting, restaining, and then the anti-graffiti. We're more likely, but though not absolute, more likely to have IDOT accept responsibility for any damage that occurs if we do not enhance. But again, that is not a guarantee, but according to Jeff, it tends to go that way. I'll be forwarding the letter to the board members so you can digest the dollar amounts. And then I think at the December 12th or 13th meeting, I forget, 13th meeting, if the board's ready for discussion, Jeff will be here to dot any i's and cross any t's on that. I was in attendance at the Lake County Transportation Alliance meeting via Zoom, and one thing of note is the transfer of the 3916 Willowbrook Road. IDOT was at that meeting, and they brought it up that they didn't realize about the orchids and the conservation there, and they're turning it over to a group called Citizens for Conservation to have oversight on that area of property. Jeff is getting more information and more detail from IDOT that he's going to share with the board.
Can I interrupt you? Because after we had the bridge lighting ceremony, not the bridge lighting ceremony, the renaming of the bridge, right? I talked to the Coffin family, and she was asking about that parcel. So we started digging into it, and that's where we found out that Citizens for Conservation was the entity that they were going to transfer the property to. But what I don't understand is why not the, the Long Grove Park District, and why them, right? So,
yeah. I can actually speak to that, but I don't mean to interrupt. You can finish, but I can speak to that.
can you speak to that?
Yeah,
Do you have that? Because, I mean, that's really the question was, so we started finding out, about it, and, because it kind of they had actually, first off, I had found out that they bought the property, and actually it's closed, because on the GIS tax maps, you can see that IDOT owned it, so
right.
that property got sold, but then I couldn't figure out why, why they took it and not the Park District, so if you have that answer, that'd be great.
Yeah, so this went on during my tenure as Park District President. To make a long story short, IDOT did approach the Park District and desire to give the land to the Park District, and the Park District would then maintain it going forward. And you're right, there was an area which had an endangered plant on it that required very specific care, and the rest of the property was not well maintained at all and required a lot of remediation work, meaning a lot of money. Now, IDOT did offer to tear down the Robert Parker Coffin Home, which was sadly in very, very bad disrepair, but they were going to take care of that. However, the rest of the property would have required a tremendous amount of money to bring up to even minimal standards, and the Park District, we on the Park District Board at the time felt that we didn't want to take on that level of responsibility or financial commitment, and we suggested to IDOT that they should look elsewhere for someone who has essentially deeper pockets and more resources to take care of it. And then I left the Park District. So I was not aware that Citizens for Conservation either now owns the land or is about to own the land. So that's news to me. But I do know the background why the Park District didn't get it, and that's the reason.
If I could add, Citizens for Conservation, which I used to belong to, they have, in addition to, maybe, I don't know how deep the pockets are, but their knowledge is so deep, and is so, I mean, they're so active in land conservation all over. They're just a very worthy organization to care for the wild orchids.
All right, so that's good then, so it's landing in a great spot is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're great. They're great people.
Okay,
And
Thank you for that.
decade after decade after decade, they're not newbies.
good to hear.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds like it's in good hands.
Greg, if you could, in Jeff's report, item 15D talks about broken sewer mains identified by camera. Could you ask him to elaborate next time on what that means? Or in a memo?
We, absolutely. In short, though, during the Apple Fest, there was a sewer backup over by the old confectionery, old Apple House over there.
My
when they-
office.
Yeah. And when they had turned around and Lake County Public Works came out to address the sanitary sewer issue, they televised, and it turned out to find that there was a problem with the sanitary sewer. They sent us letters. We are now dealing with the property owners to address those. And then Jeff's doing some further research on the grease trap issue.
Gotcha, thank you.
Could I ask you to back up to the Route 22 issue? I'm vaguely recalling that conversation, but I think it's a big enough issue that we could spend a little more time on what it was we were doing or wanted to do. Even though it's a big number, it may be something that's worthwhile visually and protecting it. I don't know. I need more information than
Yeah,
this is what
we
we
should put it
did
on-
2 years ago.
we should put it on the agenda for next week,
And-
or 2 weeks from now.
And Jeff has some renderings and some color schemes and things of that nature that I know he wanted to be here tonight, but family circumstances dictated
Gotcha.
otherwise. So, but he just wanted me to send up a flag to the board and let the board know that this is out there and we need to take a look at it sooner than later.
Yeah, and there was another communication that was in my mail slot, kind of moving this thing forward. So they're starting to come in again. They're starting it again, so.
Can we,
Go ahead.
sometime in the first quarter of next year, could we reconvene a strategic discussion also? Because it just seems like this could be part of a strategic view of where do we want to invest our extra money, like visually or whether it's geography or visual things or pedestrian access or something. So we can have it kind of a coherent multi-year. I'm not trying to make it bigger. I'm just trying to make it fit together with others. So we don't have
No, we need
to
to-
burden ourselves or others with onesie-twosie decisions.
Or north of
We need to-
22.
Perfect.
North of 22.
And that,
Good one,
that's,
Chris.
Chris, that's a totally fair strategic vision. Like, let's do
Right.
that versus having to kind of continue to lob little, needles on it.
Sure.
Absolutely, we'll be due at that point, so absolutely.
We also need to take a look at our capital improvement plan where this can be piece of that because it's I don't know when the last time it was really touched that, where we kept it on a 5-year cycle and kept it updating where most capital improvement plans are successful. And that may serve us well to toss that in there as well.
Yeah, I think that would be very part of the coherence to me too.
We had a phase 1 meeting on the Buffalo Grove Lake Cook project, which will, they also used a drone to do traffic counts over by Checker and Schaefer. We're expecting to get that data this month. We'll certainly share that with the board. 2 other quick things is that Harbor Chase, we met yesterday with them. They have a new executive director and a new person for buildings and grounds. It turns out their corporate office was not aware from local management that was previously there, that there were still outstanding issues that were as related to the landscaping and the responsibility they had about natural species. So they are coming to us with a time in action and a description of what they want to move forward with based off of Tallgrass and Urban Forestry's recommendations on the week of December 12th. So we're finally looking to see some progress on that. And we're getting ready to close out the berm at the Country Club, the Grove Country Club, and we'll be able to release the bond. Jeff's inspection's been completed. He's satisfied. And we just need Urban Forest to go out and take one final look. That's it on the engineer's report that I can offer.
Any other questions? If not, we'll keep ourselves moving. The next item on the agenda is discussion and consideration approval of a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a letter of intent and concurrence with Lake County for sidewalk installation. This is along Arlington Heights Road. It's part of the work that they're doing to rejuvenate, rework Arlington Heights Road. So the cost to the village is estimated to be around almost $36,000. And it would be budgeted in fiscal year 2023, 2024. Does anyone have any questions about it or want to discuss it further?
If I could just ask the question, where does it start? Where does it end?
It comes over to Buffalo Creek, to the park.
It starts at Buffalo Grove, where
Right.
Buffalo Grove,
I'm looking at my wrong roads.
It's the
at
Forest
the Buffalo
Preserve,
Grove border,
Forest Preserve North.
To where the,
to Buffalo Grove border, to the Buffalo Grove
Yeah.
border. I was trying to think if there's an easy way to present it.
yeah, it's
Over
blinking
by
at,
where Fred lives.
church over there.
Yeah,
So
So
it
it goes
doesn't
across-
come from 83.
no,
No, it comes
Here it is.
710.
There's actually a long segment of the sidewalk that's in the village of Buffalo Grove. There's some sawtooth boundaries along Arlington Heights Road there. And where it hits the village of Long Grove's territory, there's a gap. And this will complete the sidewalk that starts north. And then the gap will be filled to the Buffalo Creek. I think that's,
Okay, so
700.
Arlington Heights Road will have sidewalk on both sides of the street.
I
That's
believe
correct.
that's correct.
That's,
Yeah.
that's correct. So
There-
if one is keep considering balance, there ain't a sidewalk in north of 22, but we got two. Okay,
It's
Gotcha.
710 feet north of Brittany Lane coming down to Checker Road.
710 feet.
So it's the west side, it's the west
Gotcha.
side of
Yeah,
Arlington
okay.
Heights.
I got it. I was, just had a gap in there. But both sides of the street. That's nice.
Who,
I-
I'm sorry, this is Chris. Who's gonna use it is my question. I mean, from my
Yeah.
perspective, there's only one neighborhood up there that we're actually connecting in, isn't there?
No,
House of Van.
it'll connect from Route 83 down to the Forest Preserve, and then anybody who's going along then Checker and Schaefer to the neighborhoods back there out to Country Club.
No, they. You
We're
can
not
get,
connecting all the way there, but what
you
it
can,
is
or is there a plan to do that? maybe.
again, that would be part of a whole, like a strategic discussion,
Right.
but I will tell you, people walk there all the time.
Oh,
Bicyclists.
I used to live right there. I used to live right there. And the sidewalk that was there, that's been there forever, is well used.
Yep.
All right, Chris, you had a question too, did you?
Well, I mean, it's just, I mean, to me, it seems like it's a busy road. A sidewalk would be wonderful. I just don't see I just don't see why we're putting longer of money into it, frankly. To the point earlier that Bobby made, boy, I'd like to have a sidewalk on Diamond Lake Road.
Yes. You
You know.
imagine? Could you imagine the
Right.
traffic that would be on Diamond Lake Road?
Right? You actually connect some neighborhoods up, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, I get it. I'd love to have a sidewalk there. I think it's appropriate, busy street, people get killed. I get it. I just think if we have $36,000 to spend, I could find a better place to spend it, which
Again,
may sound
I
weird.
well, again, I think that we should be getting ourselves up a level and then saying, all right, what are our overall priorities so that we're not doing this onesie choosy.
well, to your point, and to Chris's point, this is not, to me, a priority.
Yeah, we didn't hear from you. You're quiet, so.
Oh, sorry, were you talking to me? Yeah.
I was talking to you, Kent.
So, okay, just want to make sure. Well, the only question I had, and I don't know that there's an answer, is if we do not do this, will Lake County put it in at their own expense, or will it simply not happen?
I don't know the answer to that.
I think this affects the La Savan neighborhood as well.
It does, yep.
And so really, those residents would be the beneficiaries of it.
George, former trustee Yeager's here, and he was talking, did you hear him about La Savan? It would affect those residents mostly.
I have, anybody I've served in the past, when they made a request for roads and I've been told through third parties that we requested this as well as Aptekissic, that if that solicitation of Lake County Department of, or Division of Transportation was made, that it was pretty much, it was going to be done. I don't know what the case was coming up to both of these projects, so I can't speak to that, but other places I've been, I'm going back to Kent's question, I've never been asked that question or had to ask that question, if we don't do it, are they gonna do it anyway? And I was gonna ask Vic if he ever had that same experience.
I'm not familiar with a similar circumstance, but the policy that is referenced in that letter of intent suggests that the county will not. The county highways generally do not have sidewalks. They have more of a rural cross-section, and they make this opportunity available to afford local governments with some economies of scale, since the contractor is going to be out there anyway.
Okay. So if we desire to have a sidewalk there, this is a good deal. We're paying 20 cents on the dollar. So it's
And
now
we
or
don't have
never.
to do any of the administrative oversight and things like that. But if it's not something that the village wants, then it's easy enough just to let it pass.
Well,
Can I ask go ahead.
thank you, Bill.
Go ahead, Chris.
Clarification, we're not paying 20 cents on the dollar. It's just that this length of sidewalk is 20% of the total cost, right? It's not like they're,
No,
are they
the sidewalk,
subsidizing us 80%?
yes, the sidewalk is an element of the overall project. And
Okay,
the county is going to be taking on the construction, paying it all up front. Well, we pay 95% of our 20% upfront, but essentially they pay for the project and we reimburse them 20% for this improvement only. Not for the project, but for this portion of the project.
Yeah,
So-
it's 20% of the cost of this improvement.
of just this 700 feet of sidewalk. So you're
Correct.
saying 700 feet of sidewalk costs 5 times 35, so
Um,
$700,000?
No, it's about a half a mile. I'm going back and looking for the document here. It's 2,725 feet. So I'm on document 12B Baker, paragraph 1 on page 1. It says 2,725 feet of 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk. The 710 feet, that number
That's
comes
that
from,
measurement.
it begins, right, it begins 710 feet north of Brittany Lane. That's
Oh, sorry.
that's a point, but the length of the sidewalk is 2725 feet,
So it's
5
basically a
feet
half a
wide.
mile. It's a half a mile.
half mile, 5 feet wide. So,
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I
okay,
appreciate it.
sure, you're welcome.
Can I ask,
So
can I
if
ask a
it's
question?
something, if it's something we want, it's a good price. That's all I'm saying.
I just have one question for trustee Kritzmeyer, and that is, from where you live, would you be able to walk all the way down the sidewalk from Arlington Heights Road to the park, that's down there, the trails and everything, that's down by Lake Cook Road?
Yeah, the
It's
only,
just- it's-
I think the tricky part is getting across the intersection of 83 and Arlington Heights Road to the McDonald's. I'm not sure if there's sidewalk there, and that would not be part of this. But other
But
than
you
that
would-
little bit, yep, I could. And that
So
would
other
mean that,
people,
But
That
but
would mean
can't, can't you walk on the other side of the street? If you've never had this, which we never had this, you walk on the other side of the street.
true, where it floods, but yeah. You
Well,
have to-
it floods. Well, my
I'm just-
goodness gracious, we should get that fixed.
Okay, snarky. It's-
That's a good
No,
point.
we don't have a
Good
friggin'
point.
sidewalk north
Right,
of 22.
22.
We don't have any consideration for Diamond
I'm-
Lake Road.
I'm glad Ann can walk to the bar. That's good. It's really good.
Not the bar. So
Well,
there-
I'm glad.
Folks, I have been on record multiple times saying I would like to see sidewalks all over, including Diamond Lake Road.
Well,
Um,
unfortunately, it never comes up. It only comes up somewhere else.
I've asked that we have a shovel-ready plan for sidewalks.
I
all
made a
replacement
whole plan.
pathways.
It got lost. I took you through every little area so that every neighborhood in north of 22 had access to a path.
I'm not sure that's shovel-ready, but that's a good start. I would like to see that. That would be, speaking for me, that's something that's important to me. And it's something I think that is also part of, we've got this very spread out rural character village. And I think connecting through non-motorized pathways makes a lot of sense and is part of the attraction. I can't prove right now that it's part of the attraction, but I do think that it makes a lot of sense. We've got 1, 2, and 3 acre properties all over the place. I think we should be connecting them via pedestrian paths.
okay, I'm sensing no support for this tonight. Should we table this right now? I'm saying, Bobby, you're no, Chris, you're no, Kent, I'm not sure, Ann's a yes.
Why
Should we
don't you
table it?
just-
Should we, So we're going to have a similar discussion on the next item. Should we discuss the next item and then look at the two of them after we discuss the next item?
Well, the next one's critical in getting people into our downtown, so.
The next one is also more time sensitive than the
More,
first
yeah,
one.
more time sensitive, so is,
Okay.
yeah, this one's a few years out, right? So,
Yeah, we're probably, they were accepting us the village board making a decision on this early spring.
okay, so. why don't we-
okay.
is it-
Oh, let's
Are we
do
okay
it
with
again
table-
later.
Yeah, that's fine. We can table it.
Okay, let's table it for now, and everyone okay with that? All
Sure.
right. Then let's move on to the next item, which is discussion and consideration approval of a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with Lake County for sidewalk improvements to Aptekissick Road. And this one is, there's a typo in the manager's report. It's a total cost of $62,000,
972, yeah.
not 72. I don't know who wants to describe this, but this is this is gonna get the extension, from Buffalo Grove to us, with the crosswalk that we have now at Sunset Grove. Now, when that connection comes in, people from Briarcrest, people from Buffalo Grove can now, access our downtown, which they can't right now. There's no continuous sidewalk there, and this is tied to the widening of Aptekissick Road.
And
So
it's
in
not
my
just
opinion,
Bar-
this is like a,
It's not just
Yeah.
Briarcrest, it's the other two Long Grove neighborhoods that are on the south side of
Bridlewood.
Aptekissick.
yeah,
East-
absolutely, there's the others
Eastgate
as
and
well,
Bridlewood.
so. Yeah, thank you, thanks, guys.
This will ultimately, in our meetings with Lake County Division of Transportation, what this will do is ultimately link our downtown, because we've added the Robert Parker Coffin pathway, up to Aptekissick, and then from Aptekissick all the way to Plains River Trail in Lincolnshire, except for a small gap by I think you're all probably familiar where the Walgreens is on Buffalo Grove Road in Aptekissick. There's a small gap on the south side of that road where the ComEd towers are, but other than that, it'll be a total link that for bike or pedestrian walking, that's a heck of a walk, but bikes or pedestrian walking all the way into Lincolnshire to the river
But
trail.
this is key for us.
It's good for tourism.
Yeah. So,
And then
Questions?
just to clarify, it looks like there's a multi-use path on the north side of Aptekissick, which looks to be about 10 feet wide, and then a sidewalk on the south side of Aptekissick, which is a standard 5-foot wide. So multi-use to the north, sidewalk to the south.
And who
Any,
maintains them? Who maintains them once they're in?
it becomes our responsibility once it's installed.
Thank you.
Could I ask a theoretical question? If we did not do this now and instead required a future developer to do it, is that a bad thing?
I don't think it's a bad thing, in my opinion, but I think that you're gonna have pieces of it, because it goes all the way up to Brandywine, coming back this way, so you're not necessarily, if a developer was to, let's say, develop, Ballybunion, for example, that space over there, what's next to that? I think there's a house next to that, and there's that mulch.
Yeah, and the winery. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah,
I was
I-
not thinking of the winery.
Yeah, I think that's really the rub here, is that there's
Yeah.
not a developer that we can count on, or even a series of them, because a lot of these are more or less developed properties.
I answered my own question.
Okay,
My opinion is this one's a critical one that we should be doing, because it connects Buffalo Grove, other neighborhoods to the downtown, and vice versa, right? So, it's something that's needed. These are the kinds of connections that we need to make that start building our pathway network outside of the downtown.
Mhm.
I mean, I got it,
Another
doesn't go to
stamp
my-
of approval in southern
I know. I live farthest north, Bobby, so
Another
I know
one.
what you're talking, I know what you're
I'll
talking
make a
about. I live-
motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
so moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by trustee Kritzmeyer. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee Chris Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Yes, we need to do this one.
Trustee Tanucci.
And I didn't get a chance to put my comment in before we started voting, but I just want to make sure everybody understood that this is another case where we're paying 20% for the multi-use path specifically. We're paying 100% of a couple sections of the sidewalk, but most of it, we're only paying 20%. So it's another good deal. So my vote is aye.
And
motion
if I
carried.
might, oh, I'm sorry, if I might clarify that point about the 100%. The 100% is only where there is an existing sidewalk. And Greg and I had an email exchange earlier today as to whether in fact there is a village-owned existing sidewalk. If there is not, we won't have to pay any of that, but it's only where there's an existing sidewalk. The cost of removal of it would be 100% onto the village. All the installation of the new sidewalk facilities or multi-use path facilities would be at 20%.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
good.
we could be potentially looking for an adjustment in another way, so,
Yeah.
to the price.
What kind of
Okay,
traffic?
good.
I know we're in the middle of a vote, but what kind of traffic does multi-use actually mean?
Bike and pedestrian,
Non-motorized.
correct.
Okay,
Could
so
be on wheels, but no motors.
we couldn't do a golf cart or anything like that?
I
You
don't
know,
believe that
that's,
those are, I don't believe those are technically authorized under the policy.
Yeah, well, that would be, wouldn't that be one of those things that in the future we could ask for permission? You know, we don't have to have that decided today, but, because I do envision the ability at some point, if the Route 53 corridor becomes a green space, the ability for somebody to have a golf cart and drive right into our downtown from somebody up north like where I live. I think it'd be pretty cool.
The other thing you're seeing nowadays is e-bikes, and those things go faster than golf carts. I almost got run down by one on Oakwood Road, going probably about 25, 30 miles an hour.
They may need to be banned.
Oh, good luck with that.
Chicky, you had a comment in the room? Comment in the room here. Oh, I have no idea. What is it now, 45?
Can you repeat
45.
that, please?
Yeah, what is the speed limit gonna be when the road's rebuilt? Will it slow down?
It's still 45 going there. I have not been privy to any discussion of a reduction in the speed limit there. Because also they've got paths going through Buffalo Grove and it still remains 45 over there. That's why I'm thinking that, still 45 down there, going west. I'm sorry.
Is it too fast there, is what you're saying?
Well, if they're gonna have a sidewalk, just walking there, so,
Oh, how close it is to the road is what you're saying? Okay.
the other thing, yeah, we basically, not promised, but been mentioned way back 20 years ago, or when Maria was president, about the Aptekissick Road, that we were gonna have that sidewalk in the other side. We will connect to.
Yeah, but it's on both sides. This is on both sides. So your point is that you were promised that by Maria Rodriguez, or she said that it would be on both sides? My understanding is it is.
It is on both sides.
Yeah.
The one on the north will also cover bike, but the one on the south will be a sidewalk for walking. Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, Cheeky. All right, that motion was carried. If I can, I'll keep us moving unless there's other discussion. I'm gonna ask Greg to help me with this revised hotel study from Hudson Strategic Partners, the hotel feasibility study.
The board had discussion at its previous meeting about the presentation by Hunden Strategic Partners for a feasibility study on the South 15, and that data would also have an impact on the triangle. The expense for that study was $35,000. When discussion took place, part of that discussion was about a feasibility study about an economic, fiscal, and employment impact analysis that was lacking. It was, if you know, the tasks went up to 7. I believe Trustee Kritzmeyer had a concern about the lack of a clear economic, fiscal, and employment impact analysis. They've added that to this resubmission. They have also factored in at the request of some of the board members to take a look at the Southgate area, specifically the area around the Menards outlots, to add that to the feasibility study. They came back with an additional add-on of $18,200. That for the feasibility, also another set of data report, the STR report as they describe it in their submission. And then the additional analysis and research it would require for that South 15. The staff's recommendation on this is at a minimum to approve the original engagement. After digesting what was discussed at that last board meeting, my only concern would be, we know that the owners of the property at the South 15 are anxious to see development take place on that property and are anxious to work with the board, or the village and the board, on whatever opportunities might make themselves available. I don't think we can with certainty say the same thing about our business on the Southgate Menards. I haven't had enough conversations with them to determine that they are open to work with the village on identifying commercial opportunities for that area. We go back to the subject of the Range USA. We found out about it after there was already discussions with that company and Menards. So I think that good data can be brought from that, but I don't know if it'll serve us a purpose if we don't have an opportunity to develop that or work with the partner to develop that property. So my recommendation is to give good consideration to the original proposal, adding on the economic impact and the employment impact analysis.
If I
Okay,
could.
so,
I-
yeah, go
I
ahead,
would-
Ann.
I would agree with Greg, and I think that adding that economic fiscal, if you recall, their item 7 was really looking at the economics from the point of view of any hotel developer. And item 8, the new item, is really looking at it more from the village perspective and the overall economic development from our standpoint. So I feel pretty strongly about including that item 8, whether we have one or both geographies.
Hey, can you help me explain what the cost is then to add it to the old proposal?
I believe based on the comments at the last meeting, it's $5,000 additional for the, you're talking about for the 8? The
Yeah.
economic, $5,000 additional.
So it's really a $40,000 proposal?
With the added economic and employment fiscal impact analysis, yeah.
Okay. Should we go around the horn and just get feedback from the trustees? Bobby?
I thought originally that we were emphasizing Lake Cook Road area. And I was surprised after last meeting, realizing that we kind of got it into next to Sunset. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that being a place for a hotel. So I'm kind of, if that's where we're headed now, that's not where I'm going.
Okay. Would you be okay if Lake Cook Road was included, it was both?
Yeah, but excluding them, doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. Thank you for that. Trustee Tanucci?
Yeah, I agree with Greg for all the reasons he stated. I don't see value in adding the Lake Cook Road property right now until we get a better read from the current owner, what it is they would even support on the land they currently own. As far as adding the 5,000 to 35,000, I'm fine with that.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Borowski?
Seems we could have a conversation with Menards to understand what it is they want or don't want. I'm not supportive of spending this money on a study for property we don't own, nor have any commitment that the property owner will even work with us on it. I mean, at the end of the day, it'll tell us a hotel's good or not, and we get some data to support it. Okay, then what? We still don't own that property. And as we keep adding on add-ons into this, I'm thinking about taking that money along with the other 35,000 and doing something north of 22. But it's only half facetious, by the way. But at some point, we got to decide if we want to have this competitively bid or not. We're just working with a consultant just because we found a consultant. But if this gets any bigger, I think we have it competitively bid. So
All right, so let me try to clarify then. So if it was just for the South 15, would you be okay with it?
No,
No? So you're not okay with it either way?
I'm not supported, Bill. Thank you. I'm just not.
Okay. All right, trustee Kritzmeyer, let's go back to you. You're muted.
Yeah, on there. I am somewhat swayed by what Greg says in terms of the Lake Cook, the Menards property. They have not been very easy to work with or partner with. And if it's this much money to be able to do some economic hotel feasibility, I would be less inclined to do that. I think looking at the South 15, I could see that in terms of understanding what that is. As I said, my big thing is if we do this at all, I want to make sure that item 8 area is in there.
All right, so I am supportive, just so you know where I stand, I'm supportive of the hotel study. Either way, I think that I personally believe that a hotel by the South 15 would be good for us, and it would help hopefully bring more traffic into the downtown with our festivals and things like that, provide a place to stay. We kind of have a wedding thing going here now, wedding venues happening in our village, and I think it would be good for our community. Plus, I look at the proximity to where my offices are in Lincolnshire and so forth, and it's a real easy drive. Be a lot more fun to hang out here than some of the hotels in Lincolnshire. So I think it'd be great to see a hotel there, in my personal opinion. So with that said, I don't know if there's enough support to vote on this tonight. But I guess I would ask if someone doesn't want to make a motion.
If I would move that we do this based on the staff recommendation of focusing on South 15, but adding the economic feasibility on item 8 of the revised proposal.
All right, so moved by trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by?
I'll go ahead and second.
All right, seconded by trustee Tanucci. It's a roll call.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Bill, you said it's a nice, easy drive, but not at 7:30 in the morning. It's already not. So I'll vote no.
Trustee O'Reilly.
No,
All right, I will vote yes. The motion carries. No, I can't? You're muted.
Yeah, we need a concurrence of a majority because we're expending money, so this motion does not pass. We needed 4 ayes or a combination of ayes and abstentions.
Okay.
Is
Okay, now
Rita
it's
not there today?
She's out of country.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if she was
Alright.
there or not. Okay.
There would be
Okay.
nothing if you wanted to put this back before the more full board at a future meeting, but as to tonight, it would not pass.
Okay, all right, well, motion does not pass. All right, moving on, let's keep ourselves moving. This is now, the next one on the agenda is for the insurance, right? Consideration and discussion of a resolution approving an insurance renewal proposal submitted by Stolarick and Company, right?
Yes, the total, we went out to bid last year looking for savings, and we found a significant cost savings with Stolarick. We asked them to continue to tighten their belt with a renewal, usually going out 2 years for, my practice has been 2 years on the general liability and 2 years on the healthcare insurance. They came in with an exceptional rate. The increase was only 0.97%. The bulk of that increase was in the workers' comp area because of the fact that we didn't have a village manager on the payroll last year when the proposal came for the full year, and so the increase was affected by the IPRF rate for the workers' compensation. We also changed our cyber protection to make sure that we had cybersecurity. ICRMT wanted us to make a physical investment that when you looked at it just didn't make any sense, and our IT partners, our managed IT service providers said the same thing. So we were able to secure our cybersecurity as well as our liability as well as our workers' compensation for a total increase of 0.97%, which in an inflationary time I thought was a pretty good number.
Questions, comments from the board?
I'm astonished
Yeah,
at
so I'll
the
just,
smallness. Go ahead, Kent.
I was just going to say, this is very good coverage for a very reasonable premium. The tiny increase in the rate is surprisingly low, given the inflationary environment we're in right now. And then just to add further comment to the workers' compensation, that the rate increase is strictly because of an increase in payroll, because workers' compensation premiums are based on the type of work as well as the payroll. And if you look at the rates, the rate per $1,000 of payroll actually went down in both the village manager category and in the clerical category compared with the previous year. So the rate went down, the actual premium went up just because we have a higher payroll that it's based on. So all in all, it's good. I have no concerns whatsoever. This is a good policy at a good rate.
Ann, you had a comment?
I'm astonished by the smallness of the increase. So I think, well done.
Okay, good. Bobby?
Good.
All right, Chris?
I'm glad somebody understands this thoroughly, so thank you for that. What is a violent event response? What does that actually mean?
Can you repeat that, please?
What is a violent event response?
Where do you see that?
Insurance Center, 15B is the attachment.
Okay, 15B, under which category? So there's, oh, here it is, violent
On
event
page
response.
one.
I see it.
Yeah, what does that actually mean? Is that like Highland Park? Is that what that means? Or what does violent event response actually mean? Because I'm looking at that going, well, if something bad happens, 500K doesn't get you very far.
Yeah, I'm not completely certain, because when I was in the insurance business, I never saw that. This might be something new, but it, based upon the sub descriptions there, it does sound like maybe something similar to Highland Park, because you see things like counseling services, funeral services, crisis team, memorialization expenses. So yeah, it sounds like something really bad happened. This will help cover some expenses associated with that.
Yeah.
That's, you're exactly right, Trustee Borowski. That's exactly what it's for.
Is 500K get us far in something like that, even if we were to have a real minor event? Not that I'm asking for more insurance. I'm just kind of curious if anybody has any way to frame this thing.
I would say this, that Stellaric as our broker are like any other consultant, and I'm confident that if it wasn't adequate, just like with the cyber liability insurance, where they told us you don't need this, but you do need this, I would feel confident that they would, that their recommendation at 500,000 is adequate.
Okay. Well, along the same lines, I'm not sure I understand that really, but inland marine, what is inland marine?
Yeah, I can explain that. It's a very strangely named set of coverages. It has nothing to do with water or boats. It's just covering small incidental items. I closed that up. Let me go back in there again and see what specifically is listed in here. Okay, yeah, miscellaneous equipment greater than 10,000 per item, miscellaneous equipment greater than 10,000 per item. Yeah, this is covering typically small things like tools, little things that you wouldn't necessarily list out separately on an insurance policy. It's got nothing to do with water or boats.
Do we own any?
Oftentimes, this is just thrown in automatically. It's just part of the property insurance.
our network copiers, our network printers, those would fall under those as far as rented and leased equipment.
Understand. Thank you. Appreciate that, Ken and Craig.
Chris, anything else?
No, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments, or does somebody want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
moved by trustee Tanucci, seconded by trustee Kritzmeyer. Roll call, please.
Trustee Tanucci,
Aye.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is discussion and consideration of an ordinance amending section 3.2.5 of the Long Grove Village Code regarding the number of Class A, C, and P liquor licenses. This is one where the Village Tavern is no longer going to be staying open past midnight, right? So they're applying for Class C. And then, let's see, we also have, we're going to, eliminate the Metro North license, right?
The
for
P
fresh service?
license, that's correct.
The P license, and I think that is it, right? Those two things, right?
We take the A license, bring them from 4 to 3. We take the C license and have to bring them up 3 to 4, because now that's the new category the tavern falls in. My conversation with the owners of Metro North and their project with Brothers Field, they're looking that when they move that project forward to apply for a separate license. I believe they're looking for an A license when they move that forward for the board's consideration, but they will not be using the P license.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Okay, moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by
Borowski.
trustee Borowski, seconded by trustee Borowski.
Trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, so Greg, I'm definitely going to let you introduce this one, but it's discussion and consideration of approval of a resolution approving a pilot program for outdoor food and beverage operations.
During the COVID timeframe, there was a lot of latitude offered the business community in regards to outside service. In fact, it was even encouraged by the governor and health officials throughout not only the state, but the county, but the state. In order to sustain business, to get people outside in wide open spaces, less likely to spread the COVID virus or any other viruses for that matter. And we, as a village, allowed businesses who did not either have an outside service license or did not come to the village board for accessory structures in order to complement the outside service. And we know it's just a matter of time before the governor rescinds his declaration. And at that point in time, when that happens, it ultimately reverts everybody back to the code where they have to come in compliance. We wanted to make sure that we did not compromise the success of businesses that have found that the outside service has been beneficial to them. I think that we also have come to learn that more and more people, even with COVID being on the downslide, are likely to dine outside more than they are inside. And it's not just during the summer, but we see it throughout the area where people are doing it in inclement weather, as long as there are accessory structures that can accommodate that. Innovation like the trailers over at Chatterbox or the domes that Enzo and Lucia have used are certainly something that merit a stronger look. But again, we don't want to pull the rug out from these businesses, from underneath these businesses where they can't continue to be successful. I worked with Vic, our partners in Mundelein, to come up with some language that would allow a temporary permit, even if the governor's declaration is pulled, a temporary permit for these businesses to either for a first time be permitted on paper and to do outside service, or to provide us with a sense of what kind of shelters they're going to use in the inclement season, so we can get this into a code and eventually make it a normal part of our business, codifying the outside service and the accessory structures. We need time to make that happen. That's why we're presenting a 1-year temporary permit process here. We will take these businesses, get them permitted, but then also look at safety issues and other issues related to the accessory structures, and allow them to use those structures, and then eventually take the specifications for those structures and put them in a code. It's about keeping our businesses strong, but being able to do it with some regulation on it, so it's not willy-nilly, so to speak.
Questions? Bobby?
2 or possibly 3 questions. My first question would be, what is going to be the reporting to the board, the consistency of reporting of how it's going, what we're learning, how are the businesses reacting to kind of this freedom?
However the board chooses me to do that, I can turn around and provide the board with a report every time somebody puts in for a temporary permit. I would expect that to be almost a 1 or 2 shot thing. I am already meeting with the businesses out there to tell them that that we're considering this and being able to move it forward. So I think that would happen pretty quickly. We'll certainly gauge the reception, and we are asking them to be stakeholder partners with us on this, especially when it comes to the quality and the specifications related to the structures. I can report to the board status of the program and make it part of my manager's report once a month, or whatever frequency the board deems would be appropriate.
Well, I think that that's a really important part of this, is that we need to know what's going on. My second thing is, I can't think of the second one, but I can think of the third one. The third one is a big question. And that is, if we were home rule, would we be having this problem?
I probably not.
Okay, because Kent had brought up the issue of home rule, and I've always thought it's a good thing. And this might be a really good example of our being inflexible because of what Springfield does to us.
I mean, the issue here comes under our zoning code, and we have some if we were home rule, we would have a lot more flexibility in doing this more nimbly than we do as a non-home rule municipality. I think the fundamental issue here is really our ordinances themselves, that we generally prohibit activities that are not within a principal building. And the outdoor dining obviously is not. And these individual structures that have become more commonplace are not part of a principal building. So that's really the impediment here. I think, were we home rule, we could very easily change the rules without even a public hearing if we so chose. Although I would say most home rule municipalities do go through the hearing process, and we could then revert back. The approach that's in the draft resolution is granting the manager a lot of flexibility, but the village board maintains the ultimate control to say, nope, we're done. You can turn off the program at your determination, and that's one of the things that we would require anyone who goes through this program to acknowledge. But I think home rule, I will often describe home rule as the more conventional dishwasher, and non-home rule being a dishwashing apparatus that Rube Goldberg would have designed. Both of them might clean the dishes, they just do it with a little greater ease or not.
Well, I look at home rule as what Springfield allows you to do and what Springfield, and then home rule is what you can do without their input. And
Yeah, but-
when I hear us kind of quivering about the governor's going to change their rules, it kind of gives me a royal pain. And I thought of my third question, and that is, what kind of a trade could we be making with some, not everyone, but some who perhaps have parking sign issues? Or something that is not good for the overall village? Is there a trade-off that can be made that you can do this, but you gotta stop doing that?
I think that's, I believe I know, based on a lot of the activity that's happening in the downtown area, where trustee O'Reilly's interest is. I would ask that I be able to visit that with the village attorney and kind of
Okay.
talk through that.
I'm being cryptic, and I apologize. That's a better idea.
Yeah, cryptic is fine, especially since the way the program is designed gives Greg a lot of authority in terms of doing this. And, I think that the program is really designed to experiment. And, you may not want to do an experiment with somebody who hasn't been able to comply fully with our regulations as a general matter. So that kind of flexibility is baked into this. And again, at the end of the day, this is going to be probably the springboard for some kind of broader recommendation, either to do or not to do, or to do it in one way rather than another way. But the point that Greg wanted to try to have is the opportunity to see which system works best. And maybe it's multiple systems. And this is the board's giving him the leash to do that.
I agree.
Okay, let's make sure there's no other questions or concerns. Chris, any concerns?
Yeah, I think the leash is too long, frankly. I think when you have multiple sets of eyes on something, it allows you to get a better view and bring up other issues that maybe one set of eyes hasn't thought through or considered. So it gives Greg a lot of power, which really scares me a little bit. I think it would be better to have a second set of eyes to give him a thumbs up or thumbs down without coming to the full board. Bill Jacob as an example, or one of the other board members or somebody to just say, yeah, that makes sense, Greg, go for it. Hours of operation, Fridays and Saturdays, after or up to midnight, I guess is what we're saying. I don't want to do this without our light ordinance in place, because we're already getting enough chaff from the residents downtown. I'm sorry, did I say light or sound ordinance? I'm sorry. But I meant the sound ordinance that we're considering to put into place. So I think if we want to support this, I think we make it up to 10 o'clock at night and call it a day, and anything above and beyond that come to the board for further consideration. I mean, I don't want to get into a situation where we're creating more neighborhood disturbances. And I don't think that Greg would not take those into consideration, but this document says we can run till midnight on Friday and Saturdays, and I'm a little bit concerned about that. And then lastly, it's more of a Vic question, maybe, I guess. I don't really understand kind of the wording on a couple things, but one of them is the termination. It says that this is in effect until the board either terminates it or extends it. I'm not sure I know what that means. It's either in effect for a year or it's not. I mean, what does that mean?
Well,
It's kind of weird wording.
Yeah, what's that saying is that if you do nothing further, it
Mhm.
ends on November 30th, 2023.
Okay.
But the board always has, and this was the point that I had mentioned when trying to respond to Bobby's question. If the board starts to think that now this program is an unmitigated disaster, you reserve the right to terminate it. And part of the reason, and you hold that opportunity anyway, but part of the reason for putting it in the resolution is to be the backstop for what I expect to include as part of any of these permits, an acknowledgement that the board can terminate upon X, number of days' notice. Likewise, the opportunity to extend will be a board decision, but if somebody decides September 30th that they want to give it a try, and they say, oh, well, it's not worth the expense because I only get to do this for 2 months. There is the opportunity for the board to extend it either generally or even for just an individual, but that would be, again, requiring a separate board action. But I think it will help the communications between Greg and whomever might also oversee this and the potential applicants. And then I guess apropos your question about Greg being the one to issue all of these, I mean, we could say it's the village manager upon concurrence of the village president. I don't want to thrust that on Bill, but that would be one way of doing it.
Well, I'll accept that responsibility if that's what the board wants to do. I was put in that position during COVID, so I will be glad to if need be, so.
I'm just saying a second set of eyes from a different perspective is a good thing. So what would happen in the very unlikely scenario that a business owner works with Greg, comes up with a plan, they put up something, and the rest of us kind of look up and go, what the heck is that monstrosity? Not that that would ever happen, but it could happen. So what's our liability in that case, or what's our power to go back and say, hey, Mr. Business Owner, our village manager maybe shouldn't have done that. Is there any way to go back on that once it's approved, or I mean, how do
Yeah, that would be the overall intent of that termination provision. I think that, if you were to do that, I would expect that the village would want to do it with some care, but we have the ability at all times to terminate the program. This is a violation of our code right now, and what we're saying is we're not going to enforce it. And for anyone who comes through this program, one of the things that I would expect, and Greg and I haven't had a chance to get into the weeds about this, but one of the things I would expect is that as a condition of any such registration, they will be signing off on an acknowledgement that this is temporary and it can be terminated at any time. And if it is, then that's the risk that they undertake.
We had, to add on to that, and Vicki, just great segue, we had conversations with our partners in Mundelein, and a couple of the things we talked about, one of them was to make sure that each one of these petitioners realized that this was a one-year test and it could either be successful or it could not, and there were no guarantees. So to keep that in mind as they move their projects forward, especially when they were talking about accessory structures. The other discussion item we had amongst the team was to take on a case-by-case basis the accessory structures, because some places won't have accessory structures and they'll only do it during climate weather. So it's to turn around and take those accessory structures, provide them to the board like I've done it with other items for development and things along those lines, and just kind of get a board member's eyes on it to say, are you comfortable with it, are you not? And then at that point, give the nod of what we believe successful and in keeping with Long Grove's traditions to put out there.
Chris?
I think it's a great idea to have a flexible incubator. I really do. I think it's a great idea. I'm just worried about the hours and worried about the sound. Really, those are my two real sticking points.
How do we address the sound though? Because the hour is 10 o'clock. So just telling you 10 o'clock on a weekend is early for me. So
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but I mean, let them come to the board then if they want to go after 10 or something like that. Maybe have a compromise.
So I noticed
I'm working till 9 o'clock on a Friday night. I don't even go out till 9.
I don't want to
Yeah.
be in this
So-
situation where we're doing the onesie twosie stuff of evaluating one at a time. I also, it won't be amplified noise. It'll be just outside dining, right?
That's,
Yeah, there's no mention that I saw in here about music or bright lights or anything like that. Should we put something in there that either forbids outdoor music or says that the sound cannot go beyond the boundaries of the business establishment? I don't know the exact wording. And maybe put something about, no spotlights, just sort of low ambient lighting. Should we address that in some way in this?
I think we're going to lay out a bunch of permit requirements that are going to be associated with these for the permit, the temporary permit process, and adding both of those conditions in there are certainly something we absolutely will do. We'll just turn around and to Vic's point, we won't approve it if there's going to be music, and if we won't approve it if it's going to amplified music, and we won't approve it if it's going to have lights that are disruptive to our neighbors, the residential community.
And then if the business goes ahead and does that anyway, we need some enforcement action, and they should understand upfront what that is.
I agree.
Yeah, and again, one of the things that we would make as part of this program is that anyone who registers and then doesn't follow the standards or conditions that have been laid out for them will have their registration revoked and they won't be able to continue. I mean, in that
Okay.
regard, there will be enforcement. I think that the waiver of enforcement provision may seem overstated, but it's really only waiver of that provision in the zoning code currently prohibiting the outdoor activities.
Okay. And then as far as the times, I actually agree with Chris that 10 to midnight seems a little late, but I'm willing to accept it if, again, conditions are such that neighbors are not disturbed. If whatever's happening stays within the boundaries of that property, I don't have a problem with going till midnight.
And maybe the thing that we can do is we'll keep it as midnight in the resolution, but we can include as part of the direction that the registration conditions will say midnight unless that time is otherwise shortened by order of the village manager. And that way we
Right.
have some immediate recourse without going through a revocation of somebody's registration.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, trustee Kritzmeyer, you're back. Can you hear us? You're muted.
You're muted.
Ann?
Can you hear me now?
We can,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry. I'm elsewhere and my computer wasn't plugged in. It turned off by itself. I'm sorry I missed some of this. I would echo Chris's point on, I think a incubator makes sense. My question, I don't know if it got answered, Greg, is it your intention to proactively reach out for ideas from the businesses or to wait until they come to you?
No, I want to approach the businesses that have already been given a nod to go ahead and do this because it's become a standard course of business for them. So I think for us to sit back and hope that they know there's a resolution passed that allows this, I think it serves us better to go out from an outreach standpoint, communicate with them, explain to them what's going on. So it is my intent to have conversation with each one of the businesses that are already doing this.
Thank you. I guess my only main curiosity is I don't want to get into the doing all the bitsy details in today's discussion, but would be interested in an initial report of kind of the guiding principles you're going to be using as you go there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Trustee O'Reilly, anything else? Not, does anyone
Need a
want to make a
motion to
motion?
approve?
I do.
So
Please.
move.
Moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by
Second.
trustee Canucci. That's a roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly?
Aye.
Trustee Canucci?
Aye.
Trustee Borowski?
aye.
Ann?
Oh, I couldn't hear you. Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good discussion. The next one is the discussion of employee medical, dental, vision insurance, and HRI plan for calendar year 2023.
I just want to share with the board that I put a staff memo out yesterday, but I put the package out relating to the renewal of the Blue Cross Blue Shield. The Krug is the broker on the healthcare insurance. Just on its own, this is another one where we were able to turn around and make sure the numbers were tight. The renewal proposal, as it is, where we would have a 100% coverage on dental by the employee and an 80-20 split with an HRA, higher deductible policy. We only saw a 1.8% increase to the village, or $75.91. The numbers are good. I provided to the board 4 options for consideration. I am not requesting action by the board today, but I just wanted to touch on it and just to put it on the board members' radar so that we could bring it for discussion and further discussion and consideration at the next village board meeting.
So what are you looking for tonight?
This was strictly an FYI, Mr. President.
Okay.
But-
Any,
Yeah, could we
Go
get
ahead.
that? The memo is probably one of the best written memos I've read in a very, very long time, but it's actually quite long. Could we get that in an Excel sheet format that would simplify the options and the costs, showing the village costs and the individual employee costs? And how
Absolutely.
it changed over time. I know you
Yeah,
attempted
I've,
that, but it's a little bit unclear in the documentation.
Okay, absolutely.
anything else? No other comments? Kent? Bobby?
Nope, nope.
Ann, you're shaking no? Okay. All right. I'm going to keep us moving then. For my report, I do want to ask us to go into executive session. Vic, per our conversation earlier, I should be good, right? Okay. So that's my report. I will add that I did attend a task force meeting on Monday, but I'd like to go into executive session for my report. Trustee Borowski,
No, nothing to report. Thank you.
Trustee Kritzmeyer,
Nothing to report.
Trustee O'Reilly,
Nothing to report, but I would like to ask to get a consensus of the board to sometime after the first of the year, discuss home rule.
okay.
I'm sorry, discuss what?
Home rule,
Home
home
rule.
rule.
Oh, okay, got it. I agree.
I
I
can
absolutely
agree to
concur.
discuss it, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not supporting it. I
I,
mean, our board's been very, very good, in terms of protecting our resources, but I don't want to give the authority of the next board to drive new taxation into the community.
Well, I think we can discuss it. From a timeline perspective, though, that's got to go before the residents, right? In the
Yes,
form of a resolution, so you'd have to, referendum, right? So you'd have to put it on the docket.
You couldn't do it by this April's election.
Yeah, so it would be the fall one, the next November election, right? If somebody wanted to do it, so. Okay,
Vic's muted.
We don't have an election cycle in November. It
No.
goes the spring of 23 and then the primaries of 24. In
Oh,
the
really?
spring
yeah,
of
it's a
24.
long way off. It's a
Yeah.
long way
Right.
off.
Spring of '24.
spring of 24, okay, got it. All right,
It is a long way off. So, Chris,
All right,
I
well,
understand your concerns. I have the same concerns. I also see a lot of advantages, so I think it's worth discussing.
I trust this board. I'm not sure I trust the future boards. That's part of the issue, but I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Let's talk about it. Sure. Absolutely.
all right. Anything else?
No.
Trustee Tanucci. Trustee Tanucci,
No.
then.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Village manager,
Just a couple things. The audit's completed. I have electronic copies. I also have hard copies for the board. Dan Berg will be at the next meeting to answer any questions. that the board may have of that. The turkey trot is Thursday. Just reminding everybody, we'll make sure it's communicated again, out in constant contact and to the residents, regarding the.
I will be there. I will be there.
How many people participate?
It's thousands. I don't know how many there, but it was
Lots.
packed last year.
I know
Yeah.
it's
Lots.
lots, but I was looking around for what is the number?
Yeah, I can pull the special event permit. I just don't want to quote off the top of my head, but I can pull the special event permit and let you know that, trustee.
Because if we could capture all those people who were in town today, wow, and make them
Yeah.
shop, because they
Yep.
were
So
all
somebody-
getting their bags and stuff today.
Somebody has their hand up, and I think it's Ben, but I may be wrong.
No, it's
Go
Holly.
ahead.
Holly,
Holly?
Hi, it's Holly from the church.
Oh, Holly from the
we-
church. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I was asked to do 2,000 flyers for the runner's bag, so it can be up to 2,000.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Holly.
The next thing I have is, we're gonna be doing some, patchwork over on Long Grove Road. We've got ruts along the side of the road that are pretty extensive. Either township during their drive-throughs contacted me, so I gave them the green light to do some repairs there. And we will be meeting next week with the, art department from Stevenson High School about the mural, in the tunnel. They are interested in doing it. In
What
fact,
are
they
you
were pretty.
talking about?
Where the graffiti happened in the tunnel,
Yeah,
Stevenson High School would be interested in using that as a canvas to create a mural. Bring back some ideas
Wow.
for the village board to take a look at as far as theme. And then we're gonna have, Melissa and I are gonna have more discussion with the art department next week. We have found, or at least there have been studies done that say that when murals are created, taggers tend to avoid those from graffiti. So we thought we'd take an opportunity to see not only beautification of the tunnel, but see if that serves as a deterrent for any future incidences as well.
great.
That's all I have.
Did you mention the audit is complete?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
I actually have one other thing. You mentioned that Ela Township is going to do some patching on Long Grove Road. Can they head over to Oakwood Road and repair those approaches to the bridge over Indian Creek? We've been waiting for that for several months now,
I'll have a conversation with them.
because we're already almost to the end of November, so I think we're quickly running out of time.
Yep, I'll have a conversation with them. I'll do it tomorrow, trustee.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, I would be looking for a motion to go into executive session to discuss the acquisition and disposition of property.
So move.
Moved by trustee O'Reilly,
Second,
seconded by trustee Borowski.
Trustee O'Reilly?
Aye.
No, we don't do, oh yeah, you do have to do roll call. Thank you. Yep.
Trustee Borowski?
aye.
Trustee Christmeyer?
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci?
You can.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. All right,
Your choice.
stand by, everyone. I'm gonna put you into, executive session. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thanks for being here. Did you drop that connection over there? Is that what you're gonna do?
Me?
Oh, you're just gonna turn the video off? Okay. Oh, Rita popped in. We're going to need to make a motion to adjourn. You're muted, Bobby.
I move we
Motion.
adjourn.
Okay, moved by trustee Kritzmeyer. Second.
Second,
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 All right, so trustee Borowski, roll call, please.
Trustee Kritzmeyer?
Aye.
Trustee Borowski?
aye.
Trustee O'Reilly?
aye, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
You too.
And
You
trustee
too.
Januski?
aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Yep.
Happy Thanksgiving.
everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks,
night.
everybody.
Bye.